Welcome back to week 3 of the NFL season. This is our NFL betting show. We go through and give you our 3 favorite bets each of the week, including our lock of the week. Last week, we're coming off of a 7-5 overall record, 2-2 on the locks. I went 3-0. So I'll just, and Alex, you
There,
did go two and
there it
one.
is there.
I
You
mean,
made up for it. You had to play comeback all last season. So
Well, I started out rough last year and then came on at the end. Hopefully, I can just start from beginning to
where you
end.
picked up
Beginning to
and
end.
where you left off.
yeah, week
Yeah.
week two is always a little weird, but we're picking it back up here.
All right. Well, who wants to start us off with their first pick?
I'll jump in. I got the Niners -6.5 in a bounce back spot. Um, Jordan Mason seems to be a pretty sufficient fill in for Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, he's not playing as much of the same role, but I think for keeping the running game as a dual threat for that offense, he's doing just fine. So I think they snap back here, get a win, and do so in dominant fashion. So let's not forget who the Niners are.
It'll be interesting without Kittle, without
Yeah,
Debo, without CMC. It's just Ayuk.
yeah. I'm on this game as well, but I'm targeting the total here for pretty much the reasons PB just laid out. Under 43.5 is the line right now. And this is kind of like the injury bowl of week three. I mean, no Cup, no Puka, no CMC, no Debo, no Kittle. The Rams are missing, I think, two, maybe three offensive linemen. Doesn't matter even if they had them. They've had no O line for the last 2 years. They ranked 28th in run blocking and dead last in PFF pass blocking rate right now. So the Niners are going to get that pass rush going on Stafford. And we also, we saw Purdy struggle against the Vikings without, three of the four offensive studs over there, and they're going to be missing those three guys again. So I just think there's too many injuries here. I could see the Niners covering 6.5, covering a touchdown, but I just think it's going to be a slower paced game than we're used to seeing from these usually two very fun offenses. So I'm going to target the under. I think both teams are going to try and just pace it out in the run game, play some tough defense, and hopefully we get the under and the Niners cover.
Yeah, I think the Rams are going to have to roll out what's probably going to be the worst receiving core all season for a game. I mean, no Cup or Puka. That's huge. At least the Niners still have some guys.
Yeah, Ayuk's still there, and
Yeah.
then Jawan's not a bad wide receiver too on most squads.
All right. My first pick is going to be the Houston Texans -2. I'm still kind of carrying over with at least this pick. My other two picks are totals, but for this spread pick, I'm still kind of carrying over my philosophy from last week, which is it's early in the season. You have overreactions uh, to certain teams, how they perform in that first game, and that's kind of what was the thesis for all my bets last week. And I think the Vikings are one of the biggest overperformers so far of the season. They kind of put a beating on the Giants, and then they go and beat the 49ers. And Sam Darnold is, getting a bunch of hype. And, I think Sam Darnold is great. Like I think he's fine. But I think in this spot, the Texans are only -2 favorites. I think this should be at least a field goal or a little bit more. So like getting that -2, I think is a great bet here. Nico Collins was on the injury report in the middle of the week, but it sounds like he's fine. And with that trio of receivers, you got a little revenge game with Stephon Diggs going in there to the Vikings. You'd see them maybe trying to get him a touchdown. We'll see. But I just think the Texans are still much, much better than the Minnesota Vikings. And
Oh,
Jordan Addison, I believe, is also, it's like they just have Justin Jefferson. They'll definitely, the Texans, defense has been looking pretty mean. They can definitely focus on him.
Stingley.
Um, yeah. So I just think Sam Darnold is going to have to find other ways here to beat the Texans, and I think this is a come back down to earth spot for the Vikings.
I
I mean,
agree.
forget about Sam Darnold. That defense has been the most impressive thing to me.
Yeah, they have some really that defensive coordinator really like
Torres.
throws some things that just people haven't seen. It's just a lot of disguised coverages, and but I think I think that with that receiver core, if there's a team that's equipped to handle that, it's probably the Texans.
Yeah, I love Stroud.
Yeah, that line was kind of fishy to me, which is why I stayed away from it. It just seems too obvious almost.
I just think people like, I mean, I know you guys
Vikings
have
have
a,
looked good.
a bet later. Like, there's certain teams, the Saints, but there's teams that have just kind of like opened people's eyes this year. Like, okay, but I do think there are, I don't think we'll see. Like, I don't think the Vikings are that great. Like, I have usually the fraud alert at some point during the year, and I forget who it was last year. The Vikings are kind of at the beginning stages of that for me. So,
All right. For my second pick here, I'm going to be on the hometown Bears plus 1.5 going into Indianapolis. Obviously, the Bears O line has been the Achilles heel of this team so far. Caleb's been pressured at an insanely high rate and has, as a result, not looked very good out of the gate. But I'm expecting a bounce back here. The Colts defense ranks 26 in pass rush effectiveness. It's hard to say fast. And also on top of that, they just lost DeForest Buckner to the IR. Their first round pick Latu got banged up in that game as well. And the Bears should be getting Keenan Allen back, who is kind of that safety valve guy for Caleb across the middle, and kind of on those short out routes, slants, etc. For when he is pressured, which he did not have against the Texans, and it showed. Um, and then on the Indianapolis side of the ball, Anthony Richardson, aside from some incredible highlight reel throws, has been insanely inconsistent. He leads the NFL with almost 8% turnover worthy plays through 2 weeks and has only completed two passes over 10 plus air yards against Green Bay last week. So he now has two interceptions, he now has more interceptions than completions versus man coverage through these two games. Two interceptions to one completion. And the Bears defense is going to be the best he's faced so far this year. It's going to be an interesting matchup. It's basically a defense who can't stop the run against a offense who can't run the ball right now in the Bears. But I think they go into Indianapolis. I think they get a hard fought win. I think Caleb gets his first and probably his second touchdowns on the season on the career here, and the Bears come out with the dub.
all right, I like it. I would definitely be on that side if I was betting that game.
And of
Yeah.
course, Corey's here
Yeah, I'm sorry.
not here to rebuttal, but
Yeah, Corey would be
he'd be
attacking,
fuming.
taking that very personally.
Oh yeah.
Uh, But yeah,
All right, I'll jump in here with my second pick of the week. I'm going Raiders -5 against the Carolina Panthers, who will be rolling out Andy Dalton. He's just coming off his 50th birthday party, I think, and I don't know. There's just not a lot of firepower on that offense. They're still waiting for Jonathan Brooks to get that running game going. So he's injured for a few more weeks. I mean, week 2, they're already kind of throwing in the towel and switching quarterbacks, which is really crazy to me to give up on a number 1 pick after a season and 2 games. So the morale cannot be good in that locker room right now. And I think the Raiders are coming off a huge win against the Ravens last week, 26-23. And the defense was really impressive to me. I thought they played hard. They're, fast, and that defensive line is really crazy, led by Max Crosby. And I think it's just going to be too much for Andy Dalton to try to get back in the NFL game speed. And -5 seems like a great pick for me. So I'm rolling with the Raiders.
all right. My next pick is going to be The Ravens Cowboys under 48. Unfortunately, like I saw earlier in the week, it was in the 49 range and it's been bet down now to 48, but I still like it here at 48. These are two teams which this does fit my kind of early season philosophy in which you look at kind of how games have played out early in the year and why Vegas is setting lines at where they are right now. And both Baltimore and Dallas have been in high scoring games. However, you know, on the in the Saints game, the Saints were putting up the points against who did Dallas play week one?
Browns.
Yeah, Brand. Oh yeah, they beat
Beat the
they
Browns.
beat the Browns. But both
Yeah.
these teams have been in totals that have gone over. And so then, Vegas sees that like, okay, we need to set this line higher. And that is why you get a line like originally in the 49 range, been bet down. But I could see this game, being a little bit slower paced. If there was a team to slow it down, I think it would be the Ravens because the Cowboys do kind of like to keep it up tempo, but I can just see some more defensive stops in this game, and I think it'll come really, really close to this total. But I think you want to be on the underside. I think it'll be like coming down to the wire, and the under will end up being the one that hits. So I don't have the main reason for this again is mainly looking at what Vegas sees after the first two games and kind of betting the opposite way of where they set the line. So that is my second bet.
All right. Starting off the locks of the week here, I'm going to be taking the Titans -2.5 at home against the Green Bay Packers. Um, some reports that Jordan Love has been practicing the last couple of days. Line after that news bounced to -1.5. I don't think Jordan Love plays. I could be wrong, but I don't think he plays. I think they got a free win and a free week out of Malik. Maybe if they had lost to the Colts, they try and force Jordan Love back a little bit quicker, but they have a divisional matchup against the Vikings next week, which I think they'll be cautious about bringing him back and wait until that important game. And so we saw what the Packers were forced to do with Malik at quarterback. 53 rushing attempts against the Colts, one shy of the most in the past decade. Tennessee is going to load the box, and they're going to force Malik to beat L'Jarius Sneed, Awuzie, and McCreary one-on-one, which I think we can all agree he cannot do. And on top of that, Tennessee's defense is ninth in overall DVOA, one of the tried and true metrics of a defense and offense. So these guys are stout, and they're also fourth in adjusted line yards. For reference, last week the Colts were 25th going into that game against the Packers. So big swing on the defensive side of the ball here. And Green Bay is pretty much the same defense as they were last year. They absolutely cannot stop the run. 24th in run defense DVOA. So Tony Pollard should have a solid matchup, solid game. And I think after we saw last week Malik get the win and, Tennessee kind of fizzle out the first 2 weeks in games they should have covered and probably should have won, I don't think any of the public is going to be wanting to back the Titans right now, which makes me love them even more. And then just lastly, on top of that, the trends back the Titans in this game. 0-2 teams versus non-0-2 teams over the last 25 years are 65% ATS. Winless favorites in week 3 are 65% ATS, and winless home favorites are 71% ATS. So I think the Titans get in the win column. I think they cover. Give me the Titans -2.5 to bounce back and get me into the win column for the locks of the week.
So you're admitting that the Titans should have beat the Bears week 1?
They absolutely should have beat the Bears week 1. Did you watch that game?
I did.
Yeah, they did not.
Just wanted
The
to
Bears did
confirm.
not. I'm glad they did. They did not deserve to win that game.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I also hope that I find myself in the win column this week on locks. So I'm going with the Eagles plus 2.5. Still no AJ Brown, but we're picking up PB's game theory here early in the season. Look for teams that overperformed. And in what world did we ever think that the Saints were going to be favored against the Eagles week 3? No one had that on their bingo card, let's be honest. So
No.
PB, going to take your methodology here, bring it into my lock of the week. I'm not going to say that the Eagles have been looking great, especially without AJ Brown, but I think Saquon Barkley is enough. And all you really have to do to stop the Saints is shut down Kamara. So I think Jalen Carter's going to have something to say about that.
Wait,
Although,
wait, wait, wait. Hang on. Before you, the only way you can, the way you stop this is only stop Kamara. You don't have to worry about Rashid Shaheed or Chris Olave or anyone like that.
Olave's still, in the off season, as far as I'm concerned, he hasn't really done a whole lot.
He hasn't needed to, and he's been separating at a very high rate. He hasn't
Shaheed,
got the
you get
ball.
a couple home run balls. I'll give him that. But
But you're saying the way the Eagles give up the most explosive plays. I will say that of like
they
15
will.
plus yards.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with their defense. That's not where I'm planting my flag here. But I think the Saints will slow down a little bit. Now we have some game tape on the Saints offense. So I'm expecting some regression, and I'm probably just going to bet it until we see it.
Okay. All right. My final bet lock of the week is Chargers Steelers over 35 and a half. Super ugly. I know it's ugly, but
Big
what
Justin Fields guy.
the reason well actually I actually could see a nice game for him this week. But like the main reason is it just follows my philosophy early in the season. Both these teams have been in games that have gone under so far. They're both 2-0 to the under. And so what does Vegas do? Like, oh, these two teams, they play at a super slow pace, like, and then you get a crazy line like 35 and a half. And then I look at, well, how can these teams score touchdowns? And I see the Chargers, Herbert's a little, and I think Herbert being a little banged up is also baked into the line. So all that's baked into why it is so low. But I see George Pickens, who has been incredible in my opinion. I don't think the box scores have quite shown how insanely good he has been. He went up against AJ Terrell in week 1, went 6 for 85, and there were plays that could have been touchdowns. He gets PI calls. He was up against Sertan last week, right? And he didn't have like a great box. It was 2 for 29, but he had a long pass interference call. He has been looking very good against these top corners, and again, like I said, the box scores haven't shown it. Now he goes again up against the Chargers, and the Steelers they actually rank second in explosive play rate. I think you could see Najee Harris getting going this game, Justin Fields really getting going in the running game, and open things up for George Pickens deep. So I think you can see the Steelers, getting to 17 to 20 points off of that. And I see the Chargers still, working with Lad McConkey, Quentin Johnston, who's kind of come on, and then their running attack with Dobbins and Gus Edwards, primarily Dobbins, but I think you might see Gus Edwards getting those touchdowns some weeks. So I think this game might not be some shootout. Like I'm not expecting like some 50 pointer, but I think over 35 and a half, a 20 to 17 game, I think that's perfectly feasible here. So give me the over in this ugly game. I think it'll be a little bit of a sweat with the pace maybe, but just like with I think the Cowboys Ravens, I think that one barely goes under. I think this one could barely go over, and I want to be on the right side of it, and I think I will be.
This is these guys get paid to play football over of the week.
Yeah, like I said, like if I were to do a parlay anytime touchdown score bet, I would do Justin Fields rushing touchdown, Najee Harris rushing touchdown. Uh, I would do Gus Edwards rushing touchdown, and I would do Lad McConkey receiving touchdown. That is how I think the touchdowns are scored this week. So if that hits too, you're welcome. All right.
Well,
Corey, you want to run through Corey's picks real quick?
Yeah.
He's join us, but we'll just run through his what he has real quick.
yeah, so he's actually got picks from each of the games that we've called out so far. He's with Nick here, Eagles plus 2.5. Took the Cowboys plus 1, and then his lock of the week is the Chargers plus 1.5. So definitely scared of the Colts going up against the Bears. Didn't even put it on his card, so we know why he didn't show up. It's okay.
He's
I'll be
I
able
told-
to I'll be able to talk that talk next week when he shows up.
Oh, the Malik Willis stuff, man. Last week was something.
Yeah, it was Nick and I were watching the game with him. It was
Oh, you were like in
yeah,
person?
we were in person. It was tough. It was,
I don't think he talked for the whole third quarter.
yeah, it was very quiet.
Yeah, I told him a week ahead if Malik Willis beats you next week, he was like, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just not even gonna send anything over. I'll just
It
wait.
was good you didn't. We were around family and children. It was very good you didn't start texting.
Oh yeah. So, but that'll do it for our week 3 bets. We'll see. I think we want to start a series of doing redraft fantasy football rankings each week, updating them, just trying to, see where everything's at each week. So stay tuned for that, and we will see you next time.